Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is 12:15 here in Westchester on Wednesday, August 5th, and we're going to give a brief update of the status of the county in the aftermath of Hurricane Isaias, which has blown through our area and is gone now, but left a significant impact on Westchester County and the other communities here in the New York metropolitan area. The storm tracked further inland than was originally anticipated, and although we were ready for whatever results would come, the winds that hit Westchester County were significant and caused significant tree damage across the county. It was not isolated into any one section of the county, but we saw problems from the northern part of the county down to the southern part of the county. And we've heard reports from Con Edison and some of the other utilities that this was among one of the top three impacts of any weather incident that's come in the area. That's a lot to say, given Superstorm Sandy and Hurricane Irene in the past few years. The information we have today, the major problem that we face is power outages across Westchester County. We're told that Con Edison has 94,889 customers without power on a base of about 330,000 overall customers. That is over 25%, approaching 30% of Westchester customers that are without power. And the NYSEG utility, which is the northern tier, about 10-15% of Westchester County's utilities in the northern part of the county, in the strip from Cortland over across to Pound Ridge and North Salem, has 28,846 customers out on a base of about 33,000 customers. So the percentage of outages in the NYSEG service area is much greater, but overall there are over 100,000 Westchester homes that are without power, and that is a serious situation. We understand that Con Edison is going to make an announcement a little later today in which they're going to give estimates about restoration times. We should just review that the process is a three-step process. The utility company has to go out, look at the damaged areas where lines are down, and then shut the power off, first step. The second step belongs to the local DPW, county DPW departments, in which our crews go out once the power is off and then take the impediment out of the road. That means they come out with the power saws and they cut the tree or they cut the pole up and they remove it. Then the third step is for the power companies to come back in with bucket trucks to restring the wires. In some cases, they'll have to put up new poles. There's a host of things that have to happen for the third step to be involved in. So those are three separate, significant steps that have to work in harmony over so many different incidents around the county. That's very serious. If you have any emergency need for assistance, you can dial 911 if it's an immediate emergency, or 211 if you're looking for information toward an emergency situation. We have asked, and the utilities have agreed, to prioritize those facilities that have people in the greatest need. That would be nursing homes, hospitals, other community residential situations. From the Westchester County standpoint, all of our highways are open. And at this point, there are no restrictions, there are no impediments in traveling on the parkways of Westchester County. The interstate highways, which are controlled by the state and the Thruway Authority, were relatively unaffected by this storm. But some of our parkways, which are smaller, narrower, operate along riverbed corridors, were impacted at various times. But as we speak now, in the 12 o'clock hour on Wednesday, none of those roads are closed. Our Beeline bus system, our full fleet is out, but there are points at which they have to take alternate routes. As one example, not far from here, the Boston Post Road is closed at the Pelham-New Rochelle border, and they're trying to remove a significantly large tree. That is a major route for buses and for other traffics, and they're routed through an alternate route to get into downtown New Rochelle. So wherever there is a tree down, it requires a Beeline bus detour route around it, which may affect those who use the Beeline bus system throughout the course of the day. Because of lack of power, 3 of our county pools are closed and 1 of our county beaches is closed. The Saxon Woods Pool in White Plains, the Wilson Woods Pool not far from here in Mount Vernon, and the Tibbetts Brook Pool in Yonkers are all closed for lack of power. When power is reestablished, those will be reopened. Croton Point Park Beach is also closed for the same reason. That's in the village of Croton on Hudson, and that is on the Hudson side of Westchester County. Playland Beach and the boardwalk in Rye is open, and the Sprain Ridge Pool Complex is on Jackson Avenue on the Greenberg, Hastings, Yonkers border are open, and they are usable, and we're going to keep them open an extra half an hour tonight dealing with the heat until 6:30 so that people can enjoy just a little bit more relief. Of our public golf courses, only the Sprain Lake Golf Course, which is located also off Jackson Avenue in Yonkers, is open. The other 5 public courses are closed as we're dealing, again, same situation, down wires and lack of availability. The major question everybody wants to know is when are they going to get power back? We're going to defer to both Con Edison and NYSEG to make those announcements. They have the crews necessary to do both the shutting off of power and then also the restoration of power with bucket crews. But we have deployed our county DPW forces, as have the municipal communities, to make sure we do the middle step of this as efficiently as we can, and that is to remove the trees. What we had happen, you may know this already, very simple situation. Saturating rain softened the ground. The winds, when they came, because the trees are fully foliaged, gave an uplift to the tree, and because the ground was soft and weak, the roots were more easily able to come out of the ground, and trees that have never fallen before have fallen, significant sized trees that take quite a while to break up into component pieces. So we have a massive task on our hand ahead of us. We'll let the utility companies discuss what they can do, but we're going to do everything we can to try to make sure the system is going. Westchester County Airport is open. There are no commercial flights into the airport during the month of August because the commercial airlines are still dealing with the loss of business from COVID. They're not planning to fly commercial flights until September. That's about 20% of the volume of our airport, but the runways are open. About 80% of our traffic at the airport is general aviation, small and larger private planes, and the airport is open for those purposes. But for general travelers who are using air services, they're not heading to Westchester. They're going out to LaGuardia because of the existing circumstances. With that, I'm going to sort of stop the presentation, take whatever questions you have. Yes? Well, I think the burying of the power lines, which do exist in certain parts of the county, but the vast majority are above ground, is in fact very costly to do that. And we've talked about a long-term capital project to do that in some places. One of the problems you face in the more rural parts of the county is even when you bury the power lines out in this public domain, the connection to the house is above ground. Because to bury it on the person's property is the expense to the property owner, and it's a significant expense. You could trench out a pipe for probably $30,000 just from here to the edge of the grass over there, so much more so for utility lines. And there are some other problems that happen. When you bury the lines, you have corrosion that happens underground that you don't see. This is what happens in New York City. But to the greater extent, whenever these incidents happen, and they don't happen annually, they might happen every couple of years, they're significant, and immediately the discussion goes to that. And then immediately when you see the price tag and you realize that to bury those lines will cause a raise in your property taxes, fairly significant, or raise in your utility prices, which is also significant, and we, the ratepayers, will pay that. Most people will say, well, this storm happened a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm not prepared to see a doubling of my expenses to do this. So that's part of the discussion. We'll have that discussion again. I'm sure there are places that are more vulnerable that we can bury, but a universal burying of lines is unlikely unless we're prepared to pay significant cost to our electric bills as they are currently. Other questions? Yes, Tony.
What are your expectations for the utility companies? What have you conveyed to them?
Well, in our conversations, and I spoke to representatives from both Con Ed and NYSEG yesterday, and we spoke on Monday in anticipation of this. We didn't discover that there was going to be a problem. We had a conference discussion with municipal officials at 3:30 on Monday afternoon. We had a first in the morning call at 9:30 with emergency services yesterday, followed up by utility conversations before we got to the heart of the storm. The most important thing that we think is important is that enough crews are at the ready and enough equipment is at the ready. No one can tell how long it will take to fix a particular problem, but we know that if the manpower and the equipment isn't there, that it won't be fixed. So we've been assured by Con Edison that they put out significant number of manpower and equipment to be able to deal with reasonable expectations. But it's so widespread, Tony, in so many different parts of the county, and in some cases double trees falling that create a more complicated removal process, that it's going to be very difficult for us to restore as quickly as we all want. And I think, frankly, we all are accustomed to immediate restoration of power. It's hot weather. If you have air conditioning or even a fan that runs on electricity and you don't have power, you're not cool at night. And that might be a discomfiture for some people. It could be a life-threatening situation for other people. So we understand the urgency. We press upon that to the utility companies. And there is a priority element to this. The local municipal governments have their own emergency operations centers open, as do we in the county. And one of the things that we asked for the last time that we believe we'll see is the local governments helping prioritize the situation on the ground for the utility companies, so that while the utility companies may look at a 1 to 10 priority based on how many customers come online, there may be a reason to change that priority order because of the needs of who's being served, even if the volume of people restored at a certain time is not the case. It's a bit complicated. We're going to stay on it. Catherine Chaffee will provide updates as the day goes along, and will be available to answer what happens once we hear from Con Edison. Any other questions? If not, you've baked in the sun long enough, and you can reach us as you see fit. Thanks very much.